Good afternoon, everyone. Hope everyone's still waking up. And welcome to AfA CONNECT 2024. This year, we are celebrating the theme, the power of community, sharing skills, experiences, and resources. And in this session, we are thrilled to have you with us today in this inspiring session focused on the victories achieved by grassroots groups across Asia in changing hearts and minds about urban macaques. The dedication and passion of these groups are driving meaningful change, fostering a future where humans and macaques coexist in harmony. And before that, let me introduce myself. My name is Amanda Faradiva. I'm the MC or host for today's session, and I'm the coordinator for the Macaque Coalition and the social media Animal Cruelty Coalition. I'm based in Indonesia. And before we begin, I want to remind you that any pictures or visuals displayed during this session are for educational purpose only. So please keep this in mind as we proceed. And without further ado, it is my pleasure to introduce the speaker for today's session. Both of them are incredible. So our first speaker is Praneetha Monipi, a wildlife biologist, conservationist, animal welfare worker, and activist who is deeply committed to fostering human-wildlife coexistence in India. Praneetha brings a wealth of experience with her double postgraduate qualification in conservation sciences and her hands-on expertise as a trained wildlife rehabilitator. Her work is centered around in situ community-led conservation measures, focusing on habitat management and the interconnected welfare of people, the planet, and the animals. And today, Praneetha will share her insights on how grassroots conservationists are making a real difference from ground up, influencing policy change through a bottom-up approach. And next one, we have Dr. Leen Yap, a passionate wildlife researcher, environmental educator, and certified Malaysian regional nature guide. Dr. Yap is not only dedicated to research, but also to practical solutions that enhance human-wildlife coexistence. She led her team, the Langur Project Penang, sorry. She led her team in successfully installing Malaysia's first two road canopy bridges in Penang, a groundbreaking initiative that provides safer crossings for arboreal wildlife. And Dr. Yap's work extends to grassroots capacity building through environmental education and citizen science collaborations. Her efforts are instrumental in nurturing coexistence between people and monkeys, especially in urban settings. And today she will share her experiences and the successes achieved through community engagement. And after that, we are going to have discussions moderated by Brooke and Co from AfA Coalition. So please feel free to write up your question in the chat box. So please join me in welcoming Praneetha Monipi. Praneetha, are you here?
Hi, yes, I'm here. Am I visible and audible?
Yes, I cannot see you yet. Wait a second. Yes, perfect. Stage is yours.
Thank you. I'm just going to share my screen. Right. So this is also visible.
Yes, perfect. Can you try to make it full screen?
Yeah. Does this work?
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. So, hi everyone. Thank you so much for having me here, and thank you so much for being here as well. My name is Praneetha, and thank you, Amanda, for that wonderful introduction. So, I've done many hats, but I recently started my nonprofit. It's not even a year old yet. I've been doing working for wildlife quite independently and collaborating with other organizations so far. So, as part of Adhvaya's initiative, Adhvaya is my nonprofit. The first project that we're working on is the Bonnet Macaque One Health project. Now, the reason this started was a lot of things. I grew up, we're based in Mysore in South India, and I grew up here. I've been raised here. I've been raised with the monkeys and with the people, but this wouldn't have been possible without the communities over there and without the support of my co-founder and my friends as well. And we also received a first grant in the first 6 months to go through with our macaque conservation implementation. So India is a country where we have 1.4 billion people and a few more. We are very rich in our culture, as well as in the number of people, as well as in the number of animals and plants that we have. We have 8 macaque species and 4 hotspots. Out of the world 36, we have 4 in India. And of those 8 macaque species, we have 2 that are endemic to South India. We have the bonnet macaques and the lion-tailed macaques. And my project specifically focuses on the bonnet macaques itself. So they are separated from the rhesus macaques of northern and central India, and they span only the southern part, the Deccan region of India. So there are many layers to how human macaque relationships exist in India. One, there's a very deep religious and cultural affinity that people have with macaques. So one of them being, people believe that the macaques are reincarnations of Lord Hanuman. Hanuman is the monkey god in Hindu mythology, and they believe that these macaques are reincarnations of them. So if we feed them, so many people believe that they will be blessed and it is a good deed and it will bring them good things and good fortune when they're fed. Now, considering the rapid rate of expansion and urbanization and development and agricultural expansion happening, the habitat is degrading at a massive rate. And especially in urban regions, it leads to a lot of conflict because we have macaques who are commensal. They have adapted over many, many years to live alongside humans, whether it's in rural areas, urban or peri-urban areas. And when they're not provisioned, if they do not have enough food, they tend to forage on crops. Now, because there's so much overlap in spaces, along with crop foraging and foraging on waste bins, we have open bins in India. Not a lot of them are closed, and even those that are, it's very easy for the macaques to get into them. Now, considering all of this and them being commensal combined with the fact that people do tend to feed them, they're considered as vermin or pest species. Now, ideally speaking, bonnet macaques are listed as vulnerable and the numbers are decreasing. They are endemic species. But because they are so abundantly visible and they're so adaptive and commensal in urban spaces, um, I'm sorry about the puppy howling. I just had a puppy who got his surgery done this morning. He had a road accident. But anyway, coming back, so we have these macaques being considered as vermin and pests because people are not really aware that, oh, these are endemic species. They don't exist anywhere. It's a shock. It's a surprise to many people. And they think that just because we can see them, they're abundant. I usually get a lot of reactions from people saying, Madam, you're studying monkeys? Like, really? That's the reaction I get. And people laugh at me. The other side of it is religious and profit from provisioning. Now, what happens is a lot of people want to provision or feed macaques based on the belief that good fortune will come to them by feeding, or, it's just a good omen and that curses will be lifted or there won't be any bad omens. But what happens is that, especially in temple tourist sites, the reason macaques hang around in temple tourist sites is because this cultural and religious affinity has led to an increase in provisioning. And but on the other side, people believe that, oh my God, the monkeys are near temples, so they also want to be here. They revere God and they're also religious. But what happens is there is an additional ecosystem that gets created, which is the profit that people make from provisioning them. There are a lot of shopkeepers, especially what I see in my project site. Uh, so they do not inform the tourists or the visitors or the devotees that you shouldn't feed them, or you should keep your belongings safe, because when the macaques, they're so accustomed to getting fed by humans, when they do approach anybody carrying anything in the hand, they approach them and they try to snatch things from their hand, even if it's just an empty bag. They want to see what's in it. What happens is everything that's in the hand gets snatched by the macaques, and then the people revert back to those shops and go for a second round of buying, whether it's a water bottle, whether they want to purchase food, whether they want to purchase ice cream. So people make a lot of profit, and it's a mini ecosystem that happens there. And because of this, the interactions so far have not been great. While religious affinities, for a fair part, I would say, for a fair bit, they have helped us protect our species. They've helped people respect and maintain a good relationship. It's also resulted in a lot of negative interactions. And provisioning, especially, has resulted in so many conflicts. And I'll show you how this works. So when macaques get provision, they get so accustomed to it. One, there are obviously health and welfare risks. We are still studying and trying to understand what exactly are the medical diagnosis. But as far as we can see, there is gastrointestinal distension, there is extreme obesity, there is really, really bad skin infections, as you can see in the first one. And in some of the monkeys, it's so bad that they cannot walk. Like, to walk 100 meters or to forage 100 meters of grass, they rest for maybe like 4 or 5 times in between. They cannot travel with their troop, they cannot climb up, and that makes them really susceptible to being around dogs or being around vehicles, which ultimately leads to mortality or other diseases when they're around domesticated animals. The second thing is a lot of loss of limb. The adults tend to get very aggressive because they're so often provisioned, that when the younger ones do go near them, you can, especially in my project site, at least half of them don't have an arm or leg or tail, part of their noses are bitten off. And this is problematic in terms of mate selection for reproduction as well. So it definitely has a huge impact on population stability. And the next one being conflicts or negative interactions. Now, the thing is, it's easy to make money from people feeding macaques, but what happens is macaques are very smart, they're very intelligent animals. They see and they know that this is exactly where I can get food from, even when tourists are not there. So they tend to go into shops and they forage inside shops and pull out all the edibles over there. Or if they do snatch bags from visitors or devotees, people over there, they have long sticks. You can see in the last picture, they have long sticks and they beat them up. Sometimes they also poison them, and they call the forest department and they say, the monkeys are being a menace, you really need to do something. And a lot of relocations, unscientific relocations under the media happen. And there is no information on where the macaques are going, whether they're healthy, whether they're alive, what impact it can have on the ecosystem or resident macaque troops in the other region that they're actually getting released in. So again, there are two layers to this. One, they're so often fed. I've noticed that so much food is wasted. The macaques are so full at times that they don't even want to take any more food. But because so many people come and they want to feed them, they want the macaques to take food from their hands. It's not even just giving it to them. Some people do come, they just throw it and go away. It's like we're doing some favor to the macaques. But otherwise, the people who want to feed them by hand, they want the macaques to they want to have close interactions with the macaques. And you can see in the first picture that macaque is not really happy. They feel their boundaries are not respected. And in the second one, the infants get extremely familiar and comfortable, and they try to jump on and snatch bags and covers or anything that a person is holding. This usually leads to getting scratched by, and some visitors have also been bitten by the macaques, and then the macaques are blamed for the same. But nobody really considers the fact that they're being fed, which is why all of this is happening. And the idea that macaques are just bad and they're a menace, that tends to go deeper into the mindsets and lifestyles of people. And the consequences so far, the graph that you see here, Mysore is the town that my project is based in, and Chamundi Hills is my project site. So Chamundi Hills is a very well-known tourist site. We get millions of visitors every year, and I am not even exaggerating that number. And we hardly have 250 to 300 macaques of 2 or 3 subtroops individually. And as keystone species, it impacts so much because they're not uh, they're not fulfilling their ecological role of seed dispersers, and the habitat is impacted, the ecosystem health is impacted, and we do see a 78% population decline in this region since 1994, and that is a lot. And according to the CDC and WHO, up to 20% of animal bites across the world from monkeys. And in India, the second only to dog bites. But outside of all of the research and the numbers and the statistics that we're seeing, the picture that you see here, those were 50 macaques that were poisoned and they were buried, and some of them were actually buried alive. Now, this is the result of macaque conflicts. So, which is why I started the Macaque project. But even before I started the Bonnet Macaque One Health project, I have previously worked in the region because people and macaques live so closely together. And because it is a tourist site and it's a religious tourist site, there are several people who capture monkeys. And the 2 infants that you see here, they were confiscated, rehabilitated, and then released. They were reintegrated with the troop, which was uh, quite surprising because I wasn't sure if the reintegration would be possible, but maybe because they were really young, I was able to do that. The entire area, then we managed to place spacers, and then we got everybody all the wires insulated. Sorry, and the macaque that was electrocuted as well. So this was a 3-month-old macaque who was electrocuted, and he needed extensive rehabilitation, and then they were released. But this is also the reason that communities there know me and are willing to work with me. But even with all of this, when I started the project, when I started the BMH project, there were a lot of challenges. Uh, it was when I first went to the forest department, I was laughed out of the room. I went to them and I told them, this is an issue and I have some ideas, and maybe we can also look into rehabilitation. Of course, we have to consider the impact on the social structure as well. But it was a dialogue in progress. And I was told, why are you wasting your skills on monkeys? Like, who cares about monkeys? Why don't you use your research skills to mitigate leopard and elephant conflict? And I was laughed out of the room. And when I went to the people, I was told the forest department won't care. We have tried so hard. Nobody comes and does any habitat management. And when there is excessive pressure, the monkeys just get relocated. And sometimes, just sometimes, maybe 1 out of 10 times, a local newspaper picks it up and they publish and say that the monkeys were being a menace and they were trapped and they were released. But for people who undergo losses because of the provisioning of macaques, the monkeys tend to go into homes, into shops, and they do forage and destroy a lot of items. There is no acknowledgement. They are not provided a compensation. They are not provided an alternative. So the people retaliate. So when their livelihood depends on it, can we really blame them? Or can we turn a blind eye to what the macaques are facing? And when you talk to visitors who are feeding them, that is a different ballgame altogether. And it's also much more difficult when you're not or rather when you're a young woman. So there was this person who told me, there's this veterinary doctor who said it's okay to feed monkeys biscuits because it has no sugar. And then he said he saw it on Google. And nobody thinks that provisioning is a serious issue. This is one of the bigger challenges that I have faced. They think the general idea is that macaques don't get enough food. There is not enough natural food for them. And that is why we are feeding them. And even if we don't feed them all the chips and biscuits or the bread or anything, even if it's just fruits like bananas, it's not a big deal. And you shouldn't really be worried about this. And there were also government officials who told me macaques are in Schedule 1, so we cannot allow the conservation implementation program, which is ironic and counterintuitive. Macaques are not in Schedule 1, actually, but they were, before the 2023 April amendment, they were considered vermin species, but now they've been moved to Schedule 2. And the problem is that nobody thinks this is a serious enough issue. So after I got laughed out and after I got told all of these things, I said, you know what? I'm going to do some serious data collection. So 2 months of intensive data collection, prepared a report and a proposal, and it was submitted to the Karnataka Forest Department. And we also have some prototype monkey-proof bins that we are developing. We've taken inspiration from multiple projects that people are working on, and we definitely want to acknowledge them in this, because this is not completely our own. It is a modified version of what so many people are doing, and we are yet to test it. But the solution comes when we address challenges inclusively, or when in a country like India, where everything is so integrated, the people and the monkeys and religion and culture and livelihoods and politics and bureaucracy, everything is integrated and they're so deeply embedded with each other. We have to address challenges inclusively. I cannot just go and say, hey, you know what, I'm here for the macaques and you should not feed them and you should not do this. They will say, you know what, take your monkeys and go away. They're really not going to care about it. So that's why this approach is happening. So with the One Health approach, what I'm doing is addressing biodiversity health. We are considering macaque health and welfare, and we're conducting research on how provisioning impacts them, including collecting the droppings of monkeys and doing a biochemical analysis, and also comparing how infant behavior, because we've also seen this. We have two different troops, less than 10 kilometers from each other. One of them in my project site, they're highly provisioned, and the other troop, they're not really provisioned at all. They're quite natural and, naturally foraging animals. And we noticed a significant difference that the infants in my project site were actually much more clingy to the mothers, and they would not vocalize, and they would just, the mothers would also not allow them very far. Whereas a troop with similar aged infants, the infants were much healthier. They did not seem really afraid, or, the mothers just allowed them, and they were quite vocal, which was quite surprising for me. So we're also looking into that. Second is ecosystem health. One of our next approaches is to survey the area. We're doing research on what the plant composition, the species composition, and what the diet, etc., has been for the last 15 to 20 years. And we're doing research on what the macaques prefer eating, because we do see that they're provisioned the entire day, but once it's nearing sunset and not a lot of people are there, they tend to feed on species of plants that have digestive remedial properties, which we also use as home remedies a lot in India for young children. So we're assuming that this could be a factor. And we are also collaborating with the City Greening Council and the Gram Panchayat, which is the local council in Chamundi Hills, which is my project site. And with them, we are developing this entire habitat management program, where we plant more habitat, we plant more diet species, and we reduce provisioning, and we also have monkey-proof bins. And the third most important thing is community health and employment. So for starters, we want the community to be involved with us. We want them to have job security, because in wildlife conservation, there's not a lot of financial or job security, especially not for local communities. And you realize there are two sides to conservation, and there's so much pure conservation where people want to just keep, local native communities out of it, but it doesn't work. At least I don't believe that that is conservation. You have to work with the people. They know what happens on their lands. They're connected to their lands, and it may not always be favorable, but we just cannot do it exclusive of each other. So employing local communities and providing them job security, and the local monkey catcher that I spoke about a few slides ago. So including him in our rehabilitation processes, is a challenge for sure, but it is an approach that we are having a conversation about. And he's actually open to it. And he said, I really love monkeys. And if you can give me money to, catch them and treat them, then I would do it. So we're still doing that. But we're going to follow up with education and engagement. And we have impact monitoring teams where the community people, they get trained in how to collect data, how to fill in our research sheets, whether it's ethograms, whether it's following the troop and seeing what they're eating, whether it's talking to people, all of that, they're getting trained in that. And then they become the impact monitoring teams. They go and talk to people and they say, hey, you know what, you're not supposed to feed them. And having people who live right there do that, enthusiastically do that, is, I think, one of the biggest advantages that we have right now. But this is all still a pilot project, right? It's only been 6 months that we've started this. We're going to do this for a year, and then we have to adapt accordingly as we move forward, because the challenges are going to change. They're going to become bigger as we want more policy and impact changes to happen. So we distributed the work that we're doing. We established the project, got our permissions, and we spoke to everybody. We got our collaborations in place, got our grant funding, and then was the groundwork and employment, which was basically research and training and telling people why we're doing this, and getting a little bit of traction going. So rehabilitation and implementation. Rehabilitation is something we're still on the fence about, because there is so much plastic disposal. We are not sure. It's going to take a little while for us to address the plastic disposal and make it a completely plastic free zone. That's going to take a few more months. But in the meanwhile, the infants have been playing around, and some of them do get the plastic caps lodged in their buckle pouches, and they often keep playing with it. But we're not really sure if we should be, intruding in their social circle. Is that something, their social hierarchy, or is that something we can do in situ if it's not very deeply lodged? So these are conversations we're having with veterinary doctors and experienced rehabilitators and other nonprofits as well. Then we're going to continue with monitoring and education and engagement. Now, after all of this, after months of waiting on the research proposal permits, we finally got it. We got our permits for research and implementation. Now, one of the advantages here is, although it's a temple tourist site, although the macaques have been there and there is a cultural and religious affinity, Chamundi Hills is already a wildlife reserve. So what we're doing is trying to push on that. So we said, it's already a wildlife reserve and we do have wildlife there. So, hey, why not make a difference with something that's already there? The impact so far,
sorry to
we
interrupt.
are developing.
Sorry to interrupt, Praneetha. Just to say, just need to wrap things up.
Yeah, of course.
Thank you.
Yeah, I'm almost at the end of it. Yeah. So the impact so far, we're filming a documentary, and a lot of people get intrigued and they say, oh, what's happening? And can we come on camera? And that's also one of the biggest ways that we get them engaging and speaking. And we finished the first session of filming the documentary. Now, this is basically to tell people, make more people aware of what's happening, why protecting macaques is important, and also to push for policy changes to regulate provisioning, as well as declare it a protected area for the macaques itself. We are carrying out 2 research projects for habitat management and the efficiency of our monkey-proof bin. But most importantly, through the work that we've been doing, we've heard that, we had no idea that this was the problem. We had no idea that monkeys actually find food, or how can we help, and can we come and join you? So this has been the impact so far, and it's encouraging, it's empowering. And our overall impact has been one of the biggest mindset challenges that we face in conservation, especially in urban regions, is that conservation happens very far. It happens in the Himalayas, it happens in the Amazon. Nobody really considers that conservation can happen in urban sectors, wherever you are. So the bigger impact is making conservation attainable and accessible for people wherever they are, telling them that no matter where you are, no matter what you're doing, your actions do matter, and you can help conserve. You don't have to particularly go anywhere. You don't have to spend money. By not doing certain things or by educating people on certain things, you are having a huge impact. And we're also one of the very few pioneering conservation programs for least concerned species or vermin species. And we're pushing really hard for some policy change and regulating provisioning and scaling up. We have over 100 sites just in my state that have temple tourist sites like this with human macaque interactions and conflicts because of provisioning them. So we want to replicate this model, tailor it according to the problems that exist there. But this is a completely replicable model that we're building. And we hope that one day throughout India, we can have this model, and I call it a conservation livelihood network, because while doing in situ conservation, we're also focusing on financial security for the people, and we can work together. So the biggest thing for me, at least, is addressing root causes, because if we do rehabilitation, we're going to do it always. If we keep doing research, great, but I think for me, something has to come out of it. And if we can build a place or a project or a site where it doesn't have to come to that, and we can prevent it coming to that in the first place, then we would have done something right. So yeah, thank you.
Thank you so much, Praneetha, for your presentation. And I really agree with the One Health approach. It's almost like one of the best way to promote coexistence. And yeah, it is quite ironic that sometimes people are thinking that macaque are like less important species, where they are not. They are incredible one. So, and thank you again for your incredible work and good luck to Adhvaya, and get well soon to the puppy. And okay, move. Yeah. Move to the next incredible speaker, Dr. Leen. Yeah. Are you here, Dr. Joe?
Hi, Amanda. How are you? Can you hear me well? All good?
Yes, perfect. Yeah. Thank you so much. Yeah. The stage is yours.
All right. Amanda, can you see my screen?
Yes, perfect.
All right. Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Jolene, and thank you so much to AFA for having me for this talk. And I'm speaking all the way from Penang, Malaysia. And after hearing so many amazing speakers talking about the animal welfare as well as the importance of coexisting with the animals around us, I would like to focus more on conservation and conversation that we have around us with the people and the wildlife. And by using the just close to a year research and conservation project that my team and I has established alongside with the Long-tail Macaque project. So I'm from Langur Project Penang Hub. And so this is the summary of the work that we do in this organization. So we're actually not an NGO. We're a primate conservation enterprise in Penang, Malaysia. And we aim to promote coexistence among humans and urban wildlife of all through community science and environmental education. Hence, throughout these 20 minutes of sharing, I would like to focus a lot on the citizen science as well as the importance of environmental education. So this is our core team. I am also a Malaysian regional nature guide, which I would bring tourists into national park and talk to them about the importance of rainforests and coexisting with the wildlife neighbors. And in this room, we also have Joey and Hui. They are my assistants. So if you have any questions regarding the slides that I'm going to present for the next 15 to 20 minutes, please feel free to type in the chat group, and Joey and Hui will definitely assist you. All right, so a little bit about our work, especially the pillars. So we have 3 pillars in Langur Project Penang, short form as LPP. First would be citizen science-based fieldwork. So basically more than 90% of our team is actually made up of citizen scientists of different background and demographic. So they volunteer their time with us, and we train them by starting by teaching them how to use a pair of binoculars and as well as handheld GPS, and teach them how to identify monkey genders and how to identify the sex age classes of the wildlife species. And this helps them to develop more empathy and curiosity towards the wildlife neighbors around them, especially the macaques. And through that, they are able to help us to collect data regarding the ecology and behaviors of the primate species. And we also have the scientific conservation approach, which is our second pillar, the Canopy Bridge project. For LPP, we have installed the first 2 road canopy bridges in Malaysia, located in 2 different urban areas in Penang, where we install it for the main purpose of reducing roadkill of the arboreal species. As you can see on this slide over here, even though it's only displaying a dusky langurs, but please stay along with me, which I'm going to show you a picture of the long-tail macaque crossing on the Canopy Bridge. So it shows the 2 different settings setting of the canopy bridge that we have installed in Penang with 2 different designs. And so far, it had helped more than 2 to 3 groups of monkeys around the area to cross the road safely, and also squirrels, reptiles, and even birds perching on the canopy bridges as well. And our third pillar would be environmental education. And this is divided into 2 different parts. First would be engaging with the tourism sites, as well as schools and community groups to organize ecotourism environmental education. This includes not only walking into the forest and talk about the trees, the food plants of the monkeys, but we also bring environmental education into the school, which later I'm going to elaborate more, because environmental education has to be inclusive. So we bring them into the forest, and we also bring forest material into the schools as well. And the second part of the environmental education would be community engagement. So we conduct a lot of talking with the residents as well as various stakeholders on the ground before proposing for a certain environmental education campaign, or even conservation strategies to nurture human macaques coexistence on the ground. So it involves a lot of negotiation as well as presenting data, especially for our research, to convince people of all ages and all backgrounds to understand a little bit more about the importance of science-based evidence. So this is Penang, Malaysia in a general view. So as you can resonate, this also applies to many, many cities and towns in Southeast Asia. So we're located here in Peninsular Malaysia. If you zoom in, or even you fly a drone towards the nearest town and cities in Penang, you realize that Penang, Malaysia is surrounded by the hills and the sea, a very convenient neighborhood which takes 5 minutes to the closest hill for a short trekking trip, or even a 10-minute drive to the closest mall and a 30-minute drive to the closest coastal area. So in Penang, Malaysia, we are blessed with nature. However, here comes the question, can we really coexist with the wildlife neighbors around us? And these are some of the photos of the common urban monkeys that we can find in Penang, Malaysia. Malaysia is blessed with 26 species of primates. And in Penang, we have 4 common types of monkeys where you can see them during daytime, around the trees, in the gardens, around your neighborhood. Yeah. So we start with the langurs, because I started off as a science communicator and a leaf monkey researchers, and then slowly moved into macaques. Just started last year on macaque studies. And we have 2 common species of langurs that we can find in Penang, starting by the my flagship species that I started my PhD on, the dusky langurs, and also the silvery langur. And next up, we have the macaques. So long-tailed macaques and the southern pigtail macaque. For information, southern pigtail macaques, they are not native in Malaysia. They are not native in Penang, Malaysia. However, there have been a recent dumping case where people would release wild or even former pets of pigtail macaques into different recreational forests of Penang, Malaysia. Hence, we're able to record data through citizen science urban sightings, various different locations in Penang, Malaysia, where pigtail macaques has been observed. So these are some of the photos that compiles the problems that our primate neighbors face in various cities and towns, urban setting in Southeast Asia. And I'm using Penang, Malaysia as a context. And all these photos are taken in various neighborhood areas in Penang. Yeah. First would be deforestation, and leads to habitat fragmentation, which I'm sure that everyone here is familiarized with roadkill incidents that are due to the root cause of non-sustainable development. And second, of course, everyone been hearing a lot about the illegal wildlife pet trade as well as animal cruelty. And in Malaysia, the macaque and the langur species are still highly traded on social media, even on Facebook and Instagram accounts. And third problem we face would be negative human-primate interaction, or even interfaces through food provisioning, waste management, as well as complaints from residents and report to the wildlife authorities, which leads to possible culling or even inhumane trap and translocation procedure. So I just graduated from my PhD just less than 2 years ago. And when I was doing my PhD, I always think that as a wildlife scientist, it's very important to be in the field from the lab, and then analyze the data that you collect from the field, and then you graduate and you publish your data to the world to read. Yeah, that's all right. But then, as I was given the opportunity to evolve more towards science communication, I realized that it's very important to focus on people and also conversation. Conservation and conversation, they are all interconnected. So when you talk about citizen science fieldwork, it's also the building blocks towards community engagement. And from citizen science fieldwork, you gather data that are able to help you to engage with the residents and the stakeholders that live near monkeys. And from that, you're able to educate the existing and upcoming generation of people living around us. Especially in Penang, it's a multicultural state, and in Malaysia in general as well. So we've been using various different types of dialects, various different of approaches to talk with people of all ages, and also various demographic. So I feel that it's very challenging in terms of communication, in conveying the right message to the targeted community, in terms of helping them to understand and also to pull them, influence them, to get them beyond broad in becoming wildlife advocates. So conversation are the building blocks to conservation, which I have to agree so much that this is one of the main lesson learned throughout my humble 6 to 7 years of wildlife conservation journey. So in LPP, we have 3 main projects ongoing at the same time. I'm going to just take a very brief explanation regarding each project, and we're going to focus on the Macaque project that we just started around a year ago, yeah? While Joey and Hui will send more information regarding the other projects that display on this slide, yeah? So we have the first project, Allies Crossing, yeah, which is the first canopy bridge installed in Malaysia, located in Teluk Bahang, Penang. So this bridge was established due to the collaboration with the ecotourism sites as well as the government, and it helps more than 9 species of wildlife to cross roads safely with 0 roadkill. And second project, Bridge to Coexist, is also involved rock canopy bridge installation. However, it involved more than that, which is collaboration with local community to develop further humane and sustainable management plan to reduce the negative interfaces between humans and dusky langurs, as well as long-tailed macaques that can be found around the targeted residential area. And third, the project Coexistence for All, where we just started last year, August 2023, with the collaboration with Long-Tail Macaque Project. And this project is focused a lot on conversation, on science communication and environmental education, which involve working with different people of a different context in order to help people to understand what are the humane ways, what are the humane strategies in order to foster coexistence between humans and the long-tail macaques around us. So right now, I would like to elaborate a little bit regarding the Coexistence for All project. And this project is funded by Animal Protection Denmark and supported by the Long-Tail Macaque Project. So macaques, they are highly misunderstood. I'm sure that everyone agree on it, especially to all of you in this room. And in Malaysia, of course, we share similar challenges, especially how the media portrayed long-tailed macaque as a very cruel, very aggressive, very cheeky, very naughty macaque species. And all these are the local newspaper clips as well as international clips that been talking about the mischievous and also the aggressive parts of macaques, how macaques injured human infants, and how macaques actually attack senior citizens. However, all these stories are just surface, right? It's very important to look beyond what are the triggers, what are the motivators, and what are the different factors and the reason that cause all these negative interfaces to happen. So human-macaque interfaces come in all sorts of different approaches, right? I'm sure all of you agree. And for our pilot study of a human-macaque interaction, we started off in a small recreational park in Bukit Mertajam, Penang, which is in my hometown. And we started to investigate and look at various interaction between the humans and the macaques over there. So at the recreational parks, we also have people who actually visit there for the purpose of feeding the macaques. And we also have people to visit there to witness the majestic look of the released pigtail macaques, few individuals over there for photography and tourism purpose. And from there, due to the wrong interaction and wrong behavior displayed by the humans towards the wildlife, it caused lots of negative interaction happening on the ground, which you can see at the bottom 2 photos over here, with injury parts of the human hands, as well as local news clip regarding macaques attacking hikers. So human feeding activities towards the macaques is something that we should really concern about. I'm sure that there are many amazing conservationists around Southeast Asia has been working so hard in order to tackle this problem. However, we have to agree on one thing. Human behavior is the greatest challenge of all. It's very hard to change human behavior. And to be honest, the success rate, it could be very low as well. So it's very important for us to keep an open mind, especially in approaching such issue and challenge on the ground, in trying to understand more regarding the motivation as well as the reason behind each feeding. And as well, when there's a human food provision towards the macaques, and of course, you have poor waste management issue occurring around the area. Yeah. So all these images were taken at the entrance of the recreational park and also in the entrance of the recreational park. Even though the signages display do not feed monkeys, even though the logo over there, it doesn't really show a monkey graphic over there, but it shows on the signboard that do not feed monkeys to wildlife. But human behavior is still something that is so hard to tackle, and people still do whatever it please. Same goes to all kinds of conservation issues that we are facing, from marine to terrestrial. So when we talk about working with the community, it comes in a lot of expectation, right? From our personal experience, when we go to a certain neighborhood or a certain recreational park, after we gotten the permission and approval from the authority or the community representative, there's always an expectation. The expectation from the stakeholders that things would be quick fix and also resolved immediately or even a short term of time. But conservation is very complex. It comes in multiple layers, which need multiple approaches in order to achieve the objective that we plan. So all these are the interesting quotes, yeah, that we collected from the community members. You're able to read on the screen while you're listening to me. And all these quotes represent the thoughts of the peoples that we would take note to understand more regarding their thoughts, their relationship with the wildlife neighbors around them, and what shapes their perception, and are their perception is shaped by their personal experience or even peer-to-peer influence. So in Langur Project Penang, we utilize several approaches towards fostering human and macaques coexistence. First, of course, research. Research can be fun, but also can be boring at the same time. Hence, we try to utilize citizen science approach by recruiting more and more local communities, even though local communities would be communities from different parts of Penang or even northern or even central part of Peninsular Malaysia. As long as any Malaysian, they are interested in investigating more regarding human-macaque relationship, we welcome them. And from there, we're able to collect data on the long-tail macaques group social behavior, as well as their home range, their food plants, etc. And we also collect data from our existing road canopy bridges on safe crossing for macaques as well, because there are many incidents where macaques they encounter roadkills near the food provision sites, and also there are incidents where macaques would have overlapping home range situation with other groups of macaques, will cause fights and etc. So we are still investigating how much of an impact our road canopy bridge is actually helping the macaques to cross the road safely. And we also look into the behavior between the dusky langurs and the long-tail macaques, the sympatric species interaction, where we have been observing a lot of these two different species sharing the resources, as well as grooming each other and even babysit each other's juveniles and infants as well. So all these are very interesting because all these data are the building blocks towards coming up with conservation planning, especially storytelling. And second approach would be community engagement and on-ground ethnography efforts. So we have volunteers of different races, different abilities. So some speak Bahasa Melayu, some speak Mandarin, some speak Hokkien, and some converse in Tamil as well. So we have all our citizen scientists to group together and try to make conservation very inclusive in terms of getting thoughts and perception from people of various demographic. And these are very important because it helps us to understand the relationship between the local communities and the macaques. So when we talk about the talking with feeders, right, it takes a lot of courage, to be honest. I'm sure that Hui, Joey, or even any one of you have done this before will agree with me. It takes a lot of courage and a lot of understanding and a lot of high EQ level in order to communicate with different feeders of different temperament, etc. And we find this very challenging because feeders are different, most of the time. And it's very important for us to identify the personality of the feeders. And from there, we're able to use the right approach in order to befriend with them, and slowly, hopefully, we're able to influence them for the better. And perception is as stretchy as a rubber band. I would like to call out that it's very important for us to focus on the conversation and do not feel like defeated or even disappointed when people are giving out very, very strong comments regarding negativity about the macaques, etc. It's very important that all these perceptions are temporary and it will change according to the experience and also the influence that they have around them. So it's very important to always be there as a wildlife conservationist, macaque advocate, to show them that you're there and you're there to help, you're there to talk, you're there to be friends with them. And they are able to talk to you regarding anything they have in their mind. And we also survey and advocate for different human-monkey guarding technique. And we learn so much from the local community. Like, for example, on this top left photo over here, we visited a Chinese temple and we realized that the Chinese temple owner, they were so creative because people were complaining about the prayers food displaying on the table and the macaques will go grab the food, right? Because it's like an open opportunity for the macaques to have a feast. So the owner was like, oh yeah, I can just build a portable cage around the prayer table and it solved all the issue. So basically, monkey guarding techniques or even strategies, sometimes it can be expensive, sometimes it can be economic. So it depends on how the people view it as something as convenient or troublesome to establish. So we've been collecting all these different tactics and techniques by the local communities. So it helps us to develop kind of like a guideline to show it to people of different settings in Peninsular Malaysia and what they can do and consider, also fulfill with their budget and also their timeline as well, in order to reduce the negative interaction with macaque species. So next comes the stakeholders focus group meeting. It's very important for us to gather the data from the ground, the scientific data regarding the ecology and behavior of the macaques, as well as the ethnography data from the community members, and then integrate these two people and monkey information and propose it to the important authorities or the local heroes in this focus group meeting as well. And from there, we're able to propose campaigns, whether is it environmental education or is it the mitigation strategies that we can try on, and then so that the people from the council, people from the politics are able to get together and trying to create a small, impactful difference for the local community. And here comes educational campaign, which I think is very, very important. As wildlife researcher, when I was working on my PhD, I don't really have time to think about the importance of diversify the educational content. Educational content can be on site, but it's also very important to be online as well, because we are actually having a competition with like, for example, celebrity influencer that's sharing about monkey as pets, or even people who are feeding monkeys are viraling this activity on TikTok or even Instagram. I'm sure you've seen that before. So it's very important for us to trying to get to the algorithm by sharing more such information, by tagging each other. Hence, I really appreciate the AfA community where all of us can make a difference online as well. So we organize several campaigns throughout the year, especially this one, the Connection campaign. So for this Connection campaign, we did not show any human-wildlife negative interaction, human and macaques. We actually show the similarity between the humans and macaques that we face in daily situation. Like, for example, if you follow my cursor, on the first episode, we are talking about the lives of macaques in the morning until the evening. It's very similar to humans as well. Macaque forage and humans will go out to work, and macaques look for food, whether it's in urban area or in the forest. Humans will do the same as well. And second episode is about the facial communication, macaques expression, which associate with the human expression. So all these 6 episodes is available on our Instagram. Hui and Joey can send our Instagram link in the chat group, and all of you can go check it out. Yeah. And for the connection campaign, we also bring the local community members into the Churotokun Recreational Forest, which is our study sites, as our study site is actually a beautiful recreational forest that has lots of important food plants of the macaques and the Langur species as well. So we bring the local community into the forest, and before we started the whole forest walk, we interview them what they think about the macaques, and they will come out with all sorts of comments, for example, naughty, attack me, etc. But after the 3.5 hours program, the participants actually gave really, really good change in terms of their mindset. So to us, all these are the small minor victories that we were always looking forward to see that changes within the local community and the participants, especially the younger generation.
Hi,
And
Jolene. Sorry to
Yes?
interrupt, but you've got about 5 minutes left.
No problem. I just need 2 minutes. All right. Thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Okay. So we recently started the AfA Monyet community sharing. AfA Monyet means there's monkeys. So for these community sharings, we actually recruit and receive application from different community types, and we would provide them a complimentary environmental education session regarding safe interaction with macaques. As you can see over here, open mouth of a pigtail macaque. So we selected school children, families of certain communities, even resident association in dealing with macaque issue, and homeschool community as well, and more. And we are still carry on this campaign on a very, very interesting pace, trying to select the suitable community to work on. And from there, we're able to gather the codes, what they feel regarding the importance of such content to be integrated into their education syllabus, or even as part of their day-to-day learning experience as well. So primate conservation, of course, is about people and our primate neighbors. Of course, we're able to do this in schools and do it through environmental education, but it's very important to provide support to the community leaders over here. On the left over here, this is YB Lee Kailun, Yang Berhormat Lee. So YB Lee, he's the local assessment man in my hometown. So we have been working with him closely in terms of trying to reduce any possibility of inhumane decision by the residents, where residents would complain about macaques to the wildlife authorities, where culling may happen. So he would contact us before the reports to authority happens, and we would go over there and talk to the communities. And from there, we were able to stop severe inhumane decision from happening, which I feel that is very important because all this started from conversation. And it's also very important for us to be kind and sincere and trying to talk to people from different backgrounds and trying to invite them to any stakeholders meeting that is available. Like, for example, this uncle over here with the marshmallow backpack. So this uncle, he was a very interesting man. Initially, he was like a little bit reluctant to hear about what we're doing. But after that, he saw us showing up like almost like few times per week. And he started to befriend with us and talk to us. And when we organized the stakeholder meeting around the park area, and he would attend with his friend and talk to us regarding the macaque issue that happening in his hometown, as well as what we can do in order to foster a better coexisting relationship. And I'm sure all of you are curious about this photo, right? Yeah, so this is Theo. He's our citizen scientist. He successfully convinced the feeder in giving him a bag of bananas, yeah, which was quite interesting, that scenario where he's able to befriend with the feeders, and the feeder was like, okay, all right, grab this bag of bananas, and this is for you and your team. Thanks for working so hard. So all this are from kindness and the willing to listen and have an open mind to be integrated as part of the community. So these are just a slide to show you that it's very important to involve people of all ages in the community as part of your citizen science project, and so that we can really make an impactful difference locally and grassroots level. All right, and this is one of the final slides. I'm almost done. So we're also trying to maintain connection with the community, not only on sites where we have residents would treat us breakfast when they saw us observing monkeys in their neighborhood, and they even added us into group chats, like more than 300 residents, and they will report to each other regarding the sightings of the monkeys happening around it. Like, these are the dusky langurs, and they will talk about it, they will joke about it, but all these are very good for them to inform each other regarding the location of the monkeys, so that the neighbors would take strategies to avoid any monkeys coming into their rooms by closing windows and closing doors. So we're recently working with influencer in order to try to reach out with new audience. And we realized that this is very important because we gain a lot of new followers from a different demographic, and they would leave comments in our contents or even messenger inbox that they learn something new and they realize that this is something that they want to get involved of. So it's very important to do not be afraid to reach out to new audience. And these are just some of the important stakeholders from the government and also from the collaborators that we're working with in order to propose for helps partnership and collaboration to sustain for upcoming years to come. And some of these collaborators, we have been working together since the founding of Langur Project Penang when I was working on my PhD until now. And I really appreciate the collaboration at the community level. So this is one of the quotes that I would always tell people, especially the first line: the way we act and behave impacts one another. So it's very important to think twice before you act and behave, because living in harmony requires cooperation, and discovering creative coexistence with our wildlife neighbors is a great approach for each and one of us to become compassionate and understanding. All right, so this is the end of my presentation. I would like to invite all of you to scan this QR code, and you're able to go to our link tree. And in our link tree, there are various environmental education materials that I hope that you'll be useful for all of you. All right, thank you so much. I'm done.
Thank you so much, Dr. Jolene. That is incredible presentation. And it's really incredible, the work of Langur Project Penang, and also sharing the importance of science communication and how it really supports the conservation effort. Is truly incredible. And I love the illustration. I love the presentation. And also, I believe that the incredible works that you do are true example that there is a will, there is a way. And I see the questions are rolling. So let's moving on to the panel discussions. Brooke and Ko, it's your time.
Hi there. Thank you both so much. Really good presentations, and the work that you do is amazing. And obviously there are a lot of similarities between a lot of parallels between what you're doing, but the context is obviously quite different. So hopefully we'll get into talking about that a little bit. But a lot of the questions that came in could equally apply to either of you, and it would be good to get your feedback on, both of your feedback on both of them, excuse me. But this first one is specifically for Praneetha. And the question is, how do you discuss the belief that feeding macaques brings good fortune in a way that's respectful of people's cultural practices and religious beliefs? So finding the balance between, the work that we know is going to benefit the macaques and the people ultimately, and this, which is also very important. Can you speak on that?
Yes, of course. I think this was a very tricky situation for us, because while it can be sensitive, it can also become an aggressor for people when religion comes into play, especially when it's so deep rooted. The approach that I am using is, when I talk to people who have these very deep rooted beliefs, the first thing I do is I show them the macaques, and I show them, can you see this macaque? Can you see its stomach? Do you see what's happening? And a lot of them are actually under the impression that macaques with big stomachs are pregnant. And I have to, take the time and say, but that is actually a male. And you see, they've all had babies, and this is the breeding season, and this is not the time, or this other time is when they'll have babies. And then do you see what's happening with their skin? Do you see how they're struggling to move? And my approach is that the gods that we worship, we are unintentionally harming them. I have to explicitly tell them, we are not blaming people. We are not in the business of blaming people. What we want is that this is a problem. We want the macaques that we so love and worship to be healthy. And then the conversation starts. It doesn't always go as intended. It doesn't always go in the right direction, doesn't always give us the right result, but it opens up a conversation. And I have to tell them, they usually stay. So when in our temple structures, we have different layers and levels that monkeys stay in. And I have to show them. So this macaque is really obese and he's unable to climb all the way, and he's just left. So using a little bit of those human sentiments, that they're left alone, that, the troop cannot take him up, with them and we're harming them, and then they say, okay, then what is your idea, because we don't think they have any food to eat. And then we say, but we have to make sure that we have enough diet species. And then it proceeds into showing them, can you see the macaque that's eating the leaf? Can you see the macaque that's eating the fruit? And then when they eat the fruit, they disperse the seeds, and then you see they're actually eating leaves. They like fresh leaves. So it's a process, it's a show and tell mostly, and doesn't always go how we want it to, but this is the approach that I usually take.
Great, great. And Jolene, do you face similar issues there with deep-seated cultural practices and religious beliefs?
Yes, similar as well. Religious beliefs in terms of encouraging human macaques and active interaction is something that we're looking forward to approach, to try different strategies in order to work with the different, like, for example, people of various religious background in tackling this issue. For now, our work is focused a lot on science communication and environmental education due to the workload as well as the team members that we have at the moment. However, this is something that we are looking at because we already have some information and data here and there while doing ethnography with people from the temples of different types of background that we face. Yep.
Thank you for the answer. We have a lot of questions coming in, and I'm sorry we cannot get to all of them. But a lot of people are interested in your canopy bridge, Jolene, in Penang. And there's one question about what does it do, like what's the function of the bridge? But to keep it relevant to this theme, to the theme of our talk today, can you talk about how do you get citizen science to collect data to decide where to install the bridge, and how do you get the government to give you the permit and all the kind of logistics here?
All right, thanks for the question, Call. So basically, when I started the proposal of the first canopy bridge, it was along a coastal roadway which surrounded the ecotourism sites nearby. So when I was collecting data on the road crossing behavior, road ecology studies of the dusky langurs around that site, it came to me that I need to do something more than just collecting data of the behavior of the monkeys and publish a thesis. So I started to approach ecotourism sites. That was the first approach, and get their support. And then from there, it's all about bumping into different doors, because Malaysia don't have a guideline in terms of installing or even propose for a canopy bridge around the coastal roadway. So I basically had to start from the bottom by knocking on doors and find the right people from different authority departments, like in this case would be the road department, council, as well as forestry and wildlife departments, in order to get their letter of support at least, and also approval in order to get the canopy bridge up. That was the story of the first bridge. It was much more summarized compared to the second bridge, actually. For the second bridge, it was installed in a residential area. So when you think of a residential area, you have people from different resident association and different neighborhoods, right? So it takes a lot of on-ground work in terms of following the monkeys and getting urban sighting data from the community members by being in their group chat and encourage them to report to us on a daily basis, and also about their perceptions and thoughts. Because when we are working on negative human and primates interaction at the urban areas, some voices can be very loud, even though those voices are the minorities. You get what I mean? Like, for example, there may be 3 people who say that I hate those monkeys and I want them dead. Seriously, we encountered such comments before. I'm sure Praneetha will resonate a lot. And however, those 5 to 6 voices, it doesn't represent the 300 residents around the area. So it's very important to be patient and take times, even though their expectation from the resident association keep telling you that you need to solve the issue. The monkeys are keep coming to my house. And we realized that the best way to engage with the residents is still being there like multiple times per week, being there and let them to see that you're doing groundwork that benefit the community. So from the days and months of ethnography, we combined with the road crossing behavior of the dusky langurs, and we proposed it to the local assemblyman, and it was a success because they realized that it could be something other than trap translocation and culling strategies that we can consider. And so it takes a lot of negotiation and also strategies in order to get the canopy bridge up. So when people say that one canopy bridge is so easy, just get the rope up there. However, behind that is a year of hard work, at least a year of negotiation and field work. And for macaques, initially for the bridges, we install it for the dusky langurs, and then macaques, they utilize it almost immediately for the first bridge, just 3 days after post-installation. So they are so adaptable and they are so mischievous, and I like to see how they social on the canopy bridge as well. And I feel that all this could be the footages for storytelling, which able to tell people that they are so much alike to us in terms of the threats and the challenges that they face, and we should respect them by co-sharing spaces with them at least.
I think a lot of people admire you for that. Can I just get a quick follow-up? How do you expect to scale it up? How do you because you are one team, but to get the canopy bridge and other communities to do the same thing in their residential area or their urban area, how do you scale that up?
It's a huge challenge because maybe this is the mentality of most people on the ground that living around residential area, that others would do it for you. Yeah, it's always like this, right? Others would do it. Yeah, but however, it's very important to identify the local heroes from different communities types. We are just there as a mediator. Yeah, we're there to facilitate, we're there to encourage and empower. And if we're able to identify local heroes from different communities, and we just hope for the best that the ball will keep rolling. Yeah, it's a huge challenge to identify the right people in different parts of Peninsular Malaysia in order to keep this rolling. But we're still trying our best.
So this question really is for both of you. And I guess we'll start with Praneetha because Jolene was last speaking. And it's about funding. I know that for grassroots groups, funding capacity is a huge problem. Resources are a huge problem. How do you start? Where do you even start with funding? Can you give us a bit of that background?
Yes, very exhausting process, not gonna lie. I usually start with applying for a lot of grants, and my sincere suggestion from what I've learned is to also look for grants specifically that are international, that are outside of your state, outside of your country, because they do care. As much as it hurts to say that, people living right next to these animals may not care as much as somebody outside of the country might, and they would think these are novel solutions to issues that we face every day. So a lot of grant writing. And for us, especially in India, the central governments have specific grants for environment and research monitoring and engagement. So it's difficult to get them initially because they want every nonprofit to be at least 3 years of age since their registration. So it's a little difficult. It's a little bit of, an uphill process, but they do have grants. And the other thing that we do is ask for donations from people. And we also conduct education programs. So we provide services, we provide consultations. I do it personally, we do it through my organization. So anything that can bring an income. I think one of my biggest learnings has also been to have multiple sources of income and donations and funding coming in, because at some point, if one of them gets cut off, then you have another thing and your project can keep going, and the people that are working with you can, have that job security.
Jolene, what about you?
All right, so a majority of the funding in LPP is from international and corporate grants, and we were fortunate enough that last year we gotten a 3 years contract from a corporate bank in Malaysia. However, it's not really like a super huge amount they're able to cover all the overhead expenses of our organization. And when I was doing my master's and PhD, I park all the expenses and the grants of my project under a NGO, which is the Malaysian Primatological Society. But since I graduated, I actually registered LPP into enterprise. Yeah, so because I'm aiming towards being an accredited social-based enterprise in Malaysia. Yeah, one of the reasons behind this is I wanted to show that there's various ways in doing conservation, especially in providing more hope for the youth nowadays. As in Malaysia, by working in NGOs or even conservation scenes, you don't really get a lot of salary, and sometimes you don't really get a lot of respect as well. And however, youth such as Jielong, Hui, and Joey's, all these young Malaysians are rising up, and so they're able to change more mind and perceptions regarding how people think about charity work or even wildlife conservation work as something that is impactful, not just being so free and nothing to do in Malaysia. Yeah, so right now we're unable to receive donation, unfortunately. Yeah, however, we are surviving by for last year when we did the audit, we were like 65% of the revenue is from the grants, and 35% is actually from the merchandise and the services that we provide. So we organize tours and trips for schools, as well as we have long-term collaboration with international schools, as well as a corporate company, in order to have us as the CSR partners. And we also work with schools to organize fundraising activities, like, for example, a payment in exchange of a service or merchandise, or something fun in return. Like, for example, one interesting thing would be last year, because we were short of like around 10K ringgit in installing the recent canopy bridge. So we collaborated with the international school, and we spoke with the assistant principal, and he agreed to organize a fun run for the school children and the adults, and we organize it in a nearby hill where the participants would pay 5 ringgit to 10 ringgit in order to participate in the fun run, in order for them to help install the canopy bridge. So after the run is over, and then we managed to gather the funds, and then once the bridge was erected, they have their student representative come over to witness the whole installation of the bridge, and this gave a sense of empowerment to the students to wanting to do more in contributing towards wildlife conservation volunteerism. Because I saw one of the questions from Rick, right, regarding some people wouldn't want to be a volunteer, but they still want to get involved in various ways. So I think it's very important for us to be creative in thinking of what are the easy way, because people want the easy way, right? What are the easy way for people to get involved, instead of have them to get involved for a certain period of time, because people are different. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm sorry, this will have to be the last question because we are running out of time. But I was going to ask Rick's question about not being able to commit, not being able to volunteer. But I want to combine this and turn it into with other people's question about how do you get people with no conservation background or biology background and talk to people who also, so basically, how do you get citizens to advise each other, to watch each other, who might not have the scientific background to be able to, you know what I mean? For example, not keeping primates as pet, how do you get citizens to like keep each other's watch out? Praneetha, do you want to go first?
Yeah, sure. So thank you. That's a very interesting question. And personally, I don't think you need to be a biologist or a conservationist to work in conservation or to make a difference. A lot of citizen science projects, including iNaturalist, where you see a species and then you make a note of it and it adds to the data collection and you click a picture, a lot of them don't really have people coming from an academic background in the subject itself. So it's absolutely possible. All you have to do, I think, is just be a little interested, learn as you go, volunteer with reliable organizations, volunteer with your local animal shelters, go out to the projects, talk to more people, and if nothing, spread the word. If you cannot be there in person, spread the word, talk to more people, keep educating them, and you can integrate a lot of conservation practices into everyday life. So not watching cruelty content, not getting birds, wild animals, birds, reptiles, anything as pets, helping neuter dogs and cats near you so they don't have a negative impact on your native wildlife, not feeding animals. So there's a lot of things that people can do. You don't necessarily have to be a biologist or come from a conservation academic background. So it's just the little bit of willingness. And the major hurdle I think I've seen to that is people feel like it's just me, it's just one person. Will the policies really change? Will it really have a big impact? But it does. every person who thinks that, it'll snowball into movements. So yeah.
Maybe I can add on a little bit about my very blurry question. So when people want to start a community engagement and they don't have the scientific background, who would be the easier way to get in? Like, is it easier to start with children, students at school, or easier with the retiree hikers in the recreational park, or easier with to approach people with the resources, with money, who can donate to you? Maybe who do you suggest people approach first if they don't have the relevant experience?
I think
I
it depends.
think, all right.
Oh,
So sorry.
sorry. No, I'm really sorry. Please go ahead, Jolie.
Sorry, Jolene.
All right, thanks. I feel that for community engagement parts, it applies to all different types of people. And for us, I wouldn't think the way that you just asked, like for example, who to approach first, because this is very subjective, right? It depends on the targeted species and the targeted habitat types and the people that you want to work with as well. And for us, I think it's very important. I think Praneetha would agree as well, is to provide an opportunity. Yeah, like a simple advert or a simple, easy solution. And if able to work with a computer scientist and come up with like a more augmented reality types, like games types of urban sightings way for people to report about the location of the monkeys around their hometown, it will be very accessible to people who love such thing. And for us, we started to collect urban sighting data regarding monkey distribution around Peninsular Malaysia since the beginning of COVID. Yeah, so we just provide them a very easy and accessible way in terms of providing information to us, which is through multiple different platforms of social media. So I feel that community engagement can be done in different types of methods and strategies. It doesn't mean that need to be very targeted in certain types of community unless it's a long-term or longer-term project. And so it should be very inclusive and accessible to everyone around. And for people who have no accessibility to internet, or even they don't have any skills in terms of navigating with technology, like for example, a senior citizen, and we would be there on the ground to talk to them and go in to have a cup of coffee, a cup of tea in exchange of merchandise to get more information regarding their thoughts and their observation with the private neighbors that they live along.
Thank you so much.
I think we should probably go back to Amanda now and say goodbye, because we are, of course, a bit over time. Amanda, over to you.
Yeah, thank you so much. That's a really great discussion. And thank you so much for Dr. Jolene and Praneetha. Good luck for your next project. And maybe I just want to say something as we wrap up this session. Let's take a moment to reflect on the power of grassroots effort and community-driven conservation. It's clear that with passion, collaboration, and commitment to change, we can achieve victories that pave the way for a brighter future for all species. And thank you for joining us. Let's continue to support and uplift this vital initiative across Asia. And back to you, Alsila.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, Ko, and to Brooke as well. That was a very engaging and insightful session. And dear guests, if you agree with me or disagree with me with my statement just now, whether it was engaging or not, or if you would like to leave a feedback about this session or about AFA Connect in general, we would love to hear from you. So please head over to this form where you can QR code scan it, or you can even click on the link provided in the chat and have it filled after this. Dear audiences as well, we would like to take this opportunity to share with you our upcoming and last AfA Connect event for this year. Closing with the theme, Communication Matters, a United Movement. The fourth AfA Connect is scheduled on the 12th to 13 November 2024. Registration will be open soon. For more information, please log on to asiaforanimals.com/connect. This year, we also have some exciting in-person events such as the Asia Farm Animal Day, scheduled for October 9 to 11 in Hanoi, Vietnam. Registration is now open, and if you'd like to learn more about the conference, please go to asiafarmanimalday.com. Sorry, I thought there was something else after that. But yes, please go to asiafarmanimalday.com. Also, from the Farm Animal Coalition, the third regional event is happening in India. So location and date will be confirmed soon. As for 2025, we have the Asia for Animals Conference Taipei 2025 happening from August 25th to 29th at Taipei, Taiwan. So if you'd like to know more about our events, please head to asiaforanimals.com/events. And if you like, you can subscribe to our mailing list to get the latest information about our events. Aside from events, we have our Asia for Animals podcast, which was just launched this year. And I would recommend to give them a listen. We have guest speakers from around the world sharing their experiences and updates. You can check the podcast at asiaforanimals.com/podcast. And ladies and gentlemen, you can hear the music, which means this is the conclusion, or no, this is how we're going to conclude our event today. Thank you so much, everyone, for joining us, for those who joined us yesterday and today as well. So we hope to see you again in AfA Connect 4 in November this year, or in any of our upcoming upcoming in-person events. And how they say it in Japanese, sayonara.